Jack Miller straightened his tie one last time before entering the grand chamber of the Galactic Council. The massive room curved in a half-circle with rising tiers of seats filled with representatives from over 200 alien species. After 5 years as Earth's ambassador, Jack still felt small walking across the polished stone floor to the speaker's podium. Today marked the 57th session of talks about humanity's petition for full membership status. 57 sessions over 3 years with no progress. Jack nodded to the few friendly faces in the chamber. The Arcturian delegate gave a slight bow. The Novalian representative blinked her 3 eyes in greeting. Most others simply stared with expressions Jack had learned to recognize as contempt, regardless of how alien their features were. High Counselor Zirax of the Thrillian Empire tapped his ceremonial staff against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber, bringing immediate silence. "The Council recognizes Earth Ambassador Jack Miller," Zirax said, his voice deep and rumbling. The translator in Jack's ear made the alien speech understandable, though it couldn't hide the dismissive tone. "You may present your case." Again. Jack cleared his throat. "Honored Council members, I come before you to once again request full membership status for Earth and her colonies. We have complied with every regulation, completed every required assessment, and submitted all requested documentation. For 30 years, humanity has been confined to our solar system under your observation and development protocols." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Jack continued, "Our scientists have made breakthroughs in medicine that have helped numerous council worlds. Our artists have created works that now hang in your most prestigious galleries. Our philosophers have contributed valuable perspectives to galactic discourse." The Vexari representative, Counselor Vextar, let out a sound that Jack's translator interpreted as laughter. "Medicine that builds upon our foundational research, art that mimics our classic forms, philosophy that merely restates ancient Shorek teachings." Jack felt his jaw tighten, but kept his expression neutral. He had prepared for this same argument they always made. "With respect, Counselor, I have brought evidence today that contradicts those claims." Jack pressed a button on his datapad, and holographic displays lit up around the chamber. "These are patent registrations from the Central Galactic Registry. As you can see, many technologies supposedly developed by Vexari scientists were actually filed by human inventors first, only to be rejected by your patent offices, and then mysteriously appearing under Vexari names months later." The chamber erupted in shouts. Zirax banged his staff repeatedly, trying to restore order. Jack stood calmly at the center of the storm, watching as the Vexari delegation huddled together in urgent discussion. When order was finally restored, Counselor Vextar stood. "These are serious allegations based on coincidental timing and misunderstanding of our legal processes. Humans simply don't comprehend the complexities of galactic intellectual property law." "We understand theft quite well," Jack replied evenly. He swiped to the next display. "This shows trade restrictions placed on Earth exports over the past 15 years. Each time humanity develops a competitive product, new regulations appear targeting specifically those goods." The Melloran representative, one of the few council members who had visited Earth personally, leaned forward. "I find these patterns troubling. Perhaps we should form an investigative committee." "Another committee," Jack said, unable to keep the edge from his voice. "We've had 7 committees in the past decade. All reached conclusions favorable to humanity, and all were quietly disbanded without action." Vextar rose again, his scaled skin flushing deep purple with anger. "This is why humans remain unfit for membership. They are aggressive, impatient, and emotionally volatile. Look at how their representative speaks to this august body, like a child having a tantrum." The chamber grew quiet. Jack looked around the room slowly, meeting the eyes or eye equivalents of as many council members as he could. Then he closed his datapad with a decisive click. "For 30 years, we have waited patiently. For 5 years, I have spoken in this chamber with respect, even when receiving none in return." Jack's voice was soft, but carried throughout the silent room. "Today, I see the truth clearly. These talks will never end in our favor because certain members of this council never intended them to. Jack collected his materials and stepped away from the podium. Humanity withdraws from these talks. Effective immediately. President Samantha Wells sat at the head of the long table in the White House Situation Room. The screens on the wall showed maps of Earth, the solar system, and beyond. 20 of Earth's most important leaders waited for her to speak. Ambassador Miller's shuttle has left Council Station Alpha, she said. It's time to begin. The room grew quiet. This moment had been planned for 15 years, but now that it had arrived, the weight of it pressed down on everyone present. Admiral John Bishop stood up. His uniform was crisp and decorated with medals from his years of service. Operation Quiet Exodus is now active. All fleet elements are in position. He pressed a button, and the main screen changed to show hundreds of ships hidden throughout the asteroid belt. Most people didn't know these ships existed. They had been built in secret, piece by piece, in hidden shipyards. Status of the folding drives, President Wells asked. Olivia Martinez, with her gray-streaked hair pulled back in a tight bun, tapped on her tablet. As Earth's top scientist, she had led the team that made this possible. All drives are green, Madam President. The final tests were completed last week. Olivia pulled up diagrams showing strange curved shapes and math equations. The dimensional folding technology works perfectly. These ships can step sideways through space without leaving a warp signature that the Council can track. President Wells nodded. And the evacuation plans? Already in motion, said Secretary Allen West. Citizens are boarding their assigned ships as we speak. The process is orderly, just as we rehearsed. By tomorrow morning, Earth will be empty except for the volunteer caretakers. On the other side of the galaxy, the council chamber was still in chaos. Representatives argued loudly with each other about the human withdrawal. They're bluffing, said the Vexari ambassador, waving his scaled hand dismissively. Where would they go? Their ships can barely reach the edge of their own system. I disagree, said the Arcturian delegate quietly. I believe we have severely misjudged the humans. High Counselor Zirax pounded his staff for order. This is merely a negotiation tactic. Humans are emotional creatures. They will return when they realize they need council trade to survive. Only Karen Rodriguez, the council's human observer who had lived on Earth for 10 years, felt real worry. She stood at a window overlooking Earth from the council's space station, watching strange energy patterns flicker across the planet's surface. Something was happening. Something big. She tried calling her human friends but got no answer. She tried official channels and found them busy or disconnected. Computer, she said to her council device, scan Earth for unusual energy signatures. The computer beeped, detecting multiple high-energy events consistent with dimensional manipulation. Patterns do not match any known council technology. Karen's heart raced. She immediately sent a message to the council with her findings, but she knew they wouldn't believe her until it was too late. Back on Earth, night had fallen across North America. In cities and towns, people quietly left their homes carrying only what they could pack in 2 bags. They walked to gathering points where sleek shuttles waited. There were no long goodbyes, no loud announcements. Everyone knew what to do. Linda Peterson, a teacher from Ohio, held her 5-year-old son's hand as they boarded a shuttle with 20 other families. Where are we going, Mom? The boy asked. To our new home, Linda said with a smile. Remember how we practiced? The boy nodded seriously. We're going to the stars because the aliens weren't nice. That's right, she said, helping him buckle into his seat. We're going someplace where we can build our own future. Across Earth, millions of shuttles rose silently into the night sky. They used no conventional engines that would alert council sensors. Instead, they slipped between the folds of space, disappearing from Earth and reappearing near the waiting fleet. In his private office, Jack Miller watched the evacuation numbers tick up on his screen. 80% complete already. He thought about the look on the council members' faces when he had walked out. Soon, they would understand that humans didn't make empty threats. "Ambassador," his assistant called from the doorway. "Your ship is ready." Jack took one last look at the office where he had prepared for countless futile meetings. "Good," he said, standing up. "It's time for humanity to stop asking for permission to exist." Karen Rodriguez rushed through the empty streets of Washington, D.C., her council uniform drawing stares from the few humans still walking about. After 3 days of trying to contact her human friends, she had finally gotten permission to visit Earth in person. Something was very wrong. She stopped in front of Beth's apartment building. Beth had been her closest human friend for years. Karen pressed the buzzer repeatedly, but no one answered. Using her council override codes, she opened the door and hurried up to apartment 5B. "Beth," she called, knocking loudly. "It's Karen. Are you there?" When no one answered, she used her emergency access code to open the door. The apartment was clean and tidy, but empty of people. Beth's favorite books were still on the shelves. Her plants sat on the windowsill. But her clothes were gone, and so were all personal items like photos and keepsakes. Karen tried 5 more friends with the same result. Everyone was gone. Back on Council Station Alpha, the alien representatives argued about what to do. Strange energy bursts had been detected all across the solar system over the past 3 days, appearing and then disappearing without explanation. "We must send a delegation to find out what the humans are doing," said High Counselor Zirax. "I will lead it myself. They are likely building weapons to threaten us." 2 days later, a council ship carrying Zirax and representatives from 7 major species entered Earth orbit. Their sensors showed normal power levels and functioning infrastructure, but almost no movement of vehicles or people. They landed near the United Nations building in New York. The streets were empty except for automated cleaning robots that continued their programmed tasks. The delegates walked through the silent city, their footsteps echoing off the tall buildings. "Where is everyone?" asked the Arcturian delegate, his voice hushed as if in a tomb. They found the United Nations building unlocked. The lights came on automatically as they entered. In the main assembly hall, screens activated as they walked in, showing the same pre-recorded message on each one. A gray-haired human appeared on the screens. "Greetings, Council representatives. If you are watching this, then humanity has completed its departure from Earth and the solar system. After 30 years of delays, restrictions, and theft of our innovations, we have chosen to continue our journey elsewhere." Zirax hissed in anger. "This is impossible. They have nowhere to go." As if answering him, the recording continued. "We have developed technologies we chose not to share with the Council, just as you have hidden advances from us. The difference is that we used our creations to leave peacefully, not to control others." The Council delegation searched the building but found only automated systems and more recordings with similar messages. In the basement, they discovered a small apartment with lights on. An elderly human man sat in a comfortable chair, reading a book. He looked up as they entered. "Ah, visitors at last. I was wondering when you'd arrive." "Who are you?" demanded Zirax. "George Sullivan, at your service." The old man stood slowly, using a cane to support himself. "I volunteered to stay behind to answer your questions." "Where have your people gone?" the Vexari representative snarled. George smiled calmly. "Away, beyond Council space." "That's impossible," said Zirax. "Your ships are too slow, too primitive." George chuckled. "You know, that's always been your mistake. You judge us by what we showed you, not by what we're capable of. You expect us to believe that all of humanity simply left?" the Arcturian asked. "Not just Earth," George replied. "Check your sensors. The Mars colonies, the Jupiter stations, the mining operations in the asteroid belt, all empty except for maintenance systems and volunteers like me. How could you possibly move billions of people in secret?" Zirax demanded. George walked to a window and looked out at the empty city. "We've always been good at hiding. It's what happens when you're the prey species on your homeworld. For thousands of years before we developed technology, humans survived by outwitting larger predators. We learned to be quiet, to plan ahead, to cooperate in silence. He turned back to the council members with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You should have given us full membership when we asked. Now you'll never know where we went, until we decide to come back. The Grand Council chamber had never been so loud. 2 weeks after discovering Earth's abandonment, representatives from all 200 member species gathered for an emergency session. The massive room buzzed with angry voices and fearful whispers. High Counselor Zurax banged his staff repeatedly on the floor, trying to bring order. "We will have silence," he shouted, his voice barely carrying over the noise. Finally, the room quieted. Zurax looked older than he had just weeks ago. His scales had lost their shine, and his posture was no longer proud. "The Economic Advisory Board will present their findings," he said, gesturing to a group of aliens standing at the central podium. A thin, blue-skinned Malorian stepped forward. "The news is not good," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Human trade made up 12% of all council commerce. Their sudden departure has created massive market disruptions." She touched a control, and holographic charts appeared around the chamber, all showing sharp downward lines. "Agricultural products from Earth fed billions on 37 council worlds," she continued. "Those worlds now face food shortages. The humans provided 90% of all coffee in council space. Prices have increased 800% in just 2 weeks." The Vexari delegate stood up angrily. "They are just humans. How can their absence cause such problems?" From another section, a small, furry Novalian rose. "My people face starvation because we relied on human wheat and rice. We cannot grow enough food on our homeworld to feed our population." More representatives stood, all shouting about different crises. Some faced medicine shortages. Others had factories that could not operate without human raw materials or components. Karen Rodriguez watched from a side entrance, shaking her head sadly. As the only council member who had lived among humans, she had been called back to provide insights. She knew this was only the beginning of the problems. Zurax banged his staff again. "The Military Strategic Command will report next." A tall gray alien with 4 arms stepped forward. General Krev of the Council Defense Force had a reputation for calm even in crisis. Today, even he looked worried. "We face an unprecedented strategic situation," he said. "An unknown number of human ships with unknown capabilities are now loose in the galaxy. These ships use technology we cannot track or trace." He showed sensor readings from Earth's solar system. "Our analysis indicates their fleet must be substantial. They moved billions of individuals in just 3 days." The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. "Could they attack us?" someone asked. "We don't know their intentions," General Krev replied. "But a species capable of moving its entire population secretly has military potential far beyond our previous assessments." Councillor Vextar of the Vexari Dominion stood up. "This is outrageous. The Vexari Dominion has led technological advancement for centuries. Are you suggesting that humans surpassed us?" An aide rushed to Vextar and whispered urgently in his ear. The Vexari's face changed from anger to shock. "What is it, Counselor?" Zurax demanded. Vextar seemed reluctant to speak. Our research division reports that progress on 73 projects has stalled since the humans left. It seems that some of our advances depended on adapting human innovations." The chamber erupted again. Several delegates turned on the Vexari, accusing them of stealing human technology. Others demanded Zurax resign for his mishandling of human relations. Karen stepped forward to the podium. "May I speak?" Zurax, looking relieved at the interruption, nodded. "I lived among humans for 10 years, she said. "There's something you all need to understand about them. Humans evolved as prey animals on a dangerous world. This shaped them fundamentally." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of the representatives. "When threatened, most species here fight. Humans learned to run, to hide, and most importantly, to remember. They never forget those who hurt them, or those who helped them. A sudden alarm blared through the chamber. On the main screen, a sensor officer appeared, looking panicked. "High Counselor, we're detecting energy signatures matching the pattern observed during Earth's evacuation. They're appearing and disappearing randomly across Council space." Xerax stared at the screen, his voice barely audible. "They're watching us. All this time, they've been watching us." 3 years passed since humanity's departure. The Council world struggled to adapt to their absence. Some planets faced food shortages. Others watched their economies shrink as trade networks collapsed. The Vexari Dominion suffered most of all. Their technological advancement stalled without human ideas to copy. Then one day, something unexpected happened. A small human ship appeared at the edge of Trilaxian space. The Trilaxians were a minor council race known for their gentle nature and advanced medicine. Recently, a terrible plague had spread across their homeworld, killing thousands each day. The council had sent help, but the disease moved too quickly for their treatments to work. The human vessel was sleek and silver, unlike any ship design the council had seen before. It moved with impossible speed, appearing on Trilaxian sensors only when it chose to be seen. Captain Lisa Nguyen sat on the bridge of the Earth ship Mercy. She was young for a captain, only 32, but her calm brown eyes showed wisdom beyond her years. "Open a channel to Trilax Prime," she ordered. The main screen lit up, showing a surprised Trilaxian official. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were large and round. "This is Captain Lisa Nguyen of the Earth ship Mercy," she said. "We've received reports of your plague. We've brought medical supplies and a cure." The Trilaxians stared in shock. "Humans, but you left Council space." Lisa smiled. "We left the Council, not the galaxy. Will you accept our help?" Within minutes, the Trilaxian government granted permission for the human ship to approach. At the same time, they sent urgent messages to the Council. The Council immediately ordered the Trilaxian Defense Fleet to capture the human vessel for questioning. Admiral Kell of the Trilaxian Fleet received these orders with concern. The Trilaxians had always been friendly with humans. During the years when Earth was restricted, many Trilaxians had spoken in favor of human membership. Now he was being told to betray people who had come to save his world. "Captain Nguyen," he sent over a private channel. "The Council has ordered us to detain your ship. I don't wish to do this, but I must warn you." "We understand, Admiral," Lisa replied calmly. "Don't worry about us." When the Trilaxian ships moved to surround the Mercy, the human vessel simply vanished from their sensors. It reappeared moments later, much closer to the planet, well past the defense fleet. Landing shuttles departed from the Mercy, carrying doctors, medicine, and equipment. They landed at major hospitals across the Trilaxian world. Human medical teams in white uniforms rushed out, bringing hover crates filled with supplies. Dr. Alan Jones led the team at Central Hospital. He met with Trilaxian doctors and quickly explained the treatment. "The plague attacks your immune system in a way similar to diseases we faced on Earth," he explained, showing them vials of blue liquid. "This medicine will cure those already sick. We've also brought a vaccine for those not yet infected." A Trilaxian doctor looked at him with tearful eyes. "Why would you help us? After how the Council treated your people?" Alan smiled gently. "The Council isn't all its member species. The Trilaxians were kind to humans. You spoke for us when others wouldn't. We remember our friends." By the time Council reinforcements arrived, the human ship was gone. But they had left behind enough medicine to treat the entire Trilaxian population, along with instructions to make more. Similar incidents began happening across Council space. A human ship appeared near a Novalian colony suffering from crop failures, delivering advanced farming equipment and new seed varieties. Another helped a Malorian research station repair critical life support systems after a meteor strike. Each time, the pattern was the same. Human ships would appear, provide help, and vanish before they could be detained. They only came to worlds that had treated humans with respect during their council confinement. News spread quickly. Council worlds that had supported restrictions on humanity now found themselves isolated, with human ships avoiding their territories entirely. Those who had been friendly to humans received trade offers, technological assistance, and protection. The Council held emergency meetings, but could find no way to track or control these human interventions. For the first time in its long history, the powerful Galactic Council found itself reacting to events rather than controlling them. The Council deep space probe drifted silently through the darkness. It had been scanning this unexplored sector for months, following faint energy trails that matched human folding technology. Finally, it found something. In the command center of Council Station Alpha, alarms sounded. Officers rushed to their stations as the probe's data streamed in. "We've found them," whispered High Counselor Xerax, staring at the main screen. After 4 years of searching, they had located human activity. The images showed planets with sprawling cities, space stations, and shipyards. Human colonies spread across multiple star systems in what had previously been charted as empty space. The probe counted at least 15 inhabited worlds before it was detected and its signal cut off. The Council immediately sent reconnaissance ships to gather more information. They stayed at the edge of the human-controlled sector, observing from a distance. Admiral Lee of the Council Scout Fleet recorded his findings with growing amazement. "The humans have established a thriving civilization out here," he reported. "Their technology appears to be decades beyond what they showed us while on Earth." His ships captured images of massive space stations where humans worked alongside alien species unknown to the Council. They saw advanced ships moving through space using the folding technology that let them appear and disappear at will. Most surprising was the discovery that humans had welcomed refugees from oppressive Council worlds. Species that had been considered primitive or unimportant by the Council now lived and worked as equals in human space. Together, they had created the first truly multi-species civilization outside Council control. When the reconnaissance reports reached the Council, the Vexari Dominion reacted with fury. Councillor Vexstar pounded his fist on the table during the emergency session. "This cannot be allowed," he shouted. "Humans are using technology that rightfully belongs to the Council. We must reclaim it immediately." Despite warnings from more cautious members, the Vexari launched a military fleet to reclaim human technology and assert Council authority. 20 warships, the pride of the Vexari Navy, entered human space with weapons charged. They were met by a single human vessel. It was larger than Earth's old ships, but still smaller than the Vexari warships. It hung in space before them, making no aggressive moves. "This is Defense Commander Eric Washington of the Human Cooperative," a calm voice transmitted to the Vexari fleet. "You have entered sovereign human space without permission. Please state your intentions." The Vexari Admiral sneered at the human's face on his view screen. "We are here to reclaim stolen technology and bring human colonies under proper Council authority. Surrender your ship and prepare to be boarded." Eric's expression didn't change. "I'm required to give you one warning to retreat. This is that warning. Please return to Council space immediately." The Vexari Admiral laughed. "One ship against 20. Your bravery is admirable but foolish. Open fire." The Vexari ships fired their most powerful weapons at the human vessel. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space and passed right through the ship as if it wasn't there. "I'm sorry you made that choice," Eric said, his image still clear on their screens. Suddenly, alarm systems blared across all 20 Vexari ships. Crew members vanished from their posts in flashes of light. Within minutes, every Vexari crew member had disappeared, transported safely but unceremoniously back to Vexari space. The Vexari Admiral found himself standing in a public square on his homeworld, surrounded by his equally confused crew. On a nearby public screen, Eric Washington's face appeared. "Your crew members have been returned safely to Vexari territory," he said, his message broadcasting across the Vexari planet. Your ships, however, will remain with us as compensation for past technology theft. Consider our accounts settled." The empty Vexari warships were towed to human shipyards, where they would be studied and then repurposed for the growing human fleet. News of the incident spread quickly through Council space. For the first time, everyone understood that humanity wasn't just hiding. They had become a major power with technology far beyond what anyone had imagined. 6 years after humanity's departure, a formal human diplomatic vessel arrived at Council Station Alpha. The ship was elegant but not flashy, its smooth hull gleaming under the station lights. Unlike the warships that had humiliated the Vexari fleet, this vessel made no attempt to hide its approach. News of its arrival spread quickly through the station. Aliens of all species crowded observation decks to see the first official human delegation since the Exodus. Inside the council chamber, representatives from 200 species waited nervously. Some were angry, others curious, and many were simply afraid of what humans might demand after years of mistreatment. High Counselor Xurax, still clinging to power despite multiple challenges to his leadership, sat stiffly in his central chair. The pride that had once made him seem imposing now made him look brittle and old. The massive doors swung open. A woman in a simple blue uniform walked in alone. She was tall with dark skin and short black hair streaked with silver. Her steps were confident but not aggressive as she approached the speaker's podium. "My name is Ambassador Nicole Patterson," she said, her voice clear and strong. "I represent the Human Cooperative of Independent Systems. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." The chamber was silent. This wasn't the angry confrontation many had expected. The Human Cooperative includes not only Earth humans but 15 other species who have chosen to join us, Nicole continued. "Some you know well, others you dismissed as unimportant. Together, we have built something new beyond Council space." She activated a holographic display showing beautiful cities on different worlds, space stations where multiple species worked together, and schools where children of different species played side by side. "We come today to offer limited diplomatic relations with the Council," Nicole said. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This was unexpected. "Limited?" asked Xurax, his voice betraying his surprise. "What does that mean?" "Full diplomatic relations would require trust," Nicole replied. "Trust must be earned. The Council broke that trust repeatedly over 30 years." She tapped her datapad, and the display changed to show records of Council meetings where human petitions were deliberately delayed. Human innovations were stolen, and restrictions on Earth were secretly extended. For diplomatic relations to begin, the Council must acknowledge these past actions, Nicole said firmly. Before Xurax could respond, a message came through on every Council member's personal device. 3 Council worlds, Novalis, Melorus, and Trilax, were formally announcing their intention to leave the Council and join the Human Cooperative. The chamber erupted in shouts and accusations. The Vexari ambassador stood up, his scales flushing deep purple. "This is rebellion," he shouted. "Humans are poaching Council members. We should respond with military force." Nicole waited calmly until the noise died down. "No one was poached," she said. "These worlds requested membership after seeing how we treat our member species, as equals, not subjects." She looked directly at the Vexari ambassador. "As for military response, I believe your recent encounter with a single human defense ship should make the wisdom of that approach clear." The chamber grew quiet again. The defeat of 20 Vexari warships by 1 human vessel was still a raw humiliation. "The Human Cooperative doesn't want conflict," Nicole continued in a gentler tone. "We simply want fair treatment and honest dealings. Those who treated humans with respect during our Council years have found us to be generous friends. Those who didn't," she let the sentence hang unfinished. From a side entrance, Karen Rodriguez, the former Council observer to Earth, slipped into the chamber. Nicole smiled when she saw her old friend. "For decades, you had a chance to make humanity your partner," Nicole said, turning back to address the Council. "You chose to make us your servant instead. Now we offer you a second chance at partnership, but on new terms. She placed a data crystal on the podium. This contains evidence of corruption that humanity gathered over decades. We're making it public across all council worlds today. Your citizens deserve to know the truth. Nicole stepped away from the podium. Before I leave, I extend an invitation to each of you personally. Visit human space as our guests, not as council representatives, but as individuals willing to see what we've built. Perhaps then you'll understand what you lost when you drove us away. She walked toward the exit, pausing briefly beside Karen to squeeze her hand in friendship. The council chamber remained silent long after the doors closed behind her. 5 years after Ambassador Patterson's visit to the council, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The corrupt council leadership had fallen, replaced by a reformed organization led by High Counselor Karen Rodriguez, the former human observer who had gained citizenship in human space. She had brought with her a new vision of cooperation rather than control. The Vexari Dominion, once the most powerful council member, had collapsed into civil war after their military defeat and the public release of evidence showing centuries of technological theft. Without access to stolen human innovations to maintain their edge, their empire crumbled from within. On New Earth, the most prominent human colony world, Jack Miller sat on the porch of his retirement home. His hair was now completely white, but his eyes remained sharp as he watched the dual sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. New Earth was beautiful, with its rolling hills and crystal lakes, but sometimes he still missed the original Earth with its familiar blue skies. A small shuttle landed on the pad near his house. A woman in a formal council uniform stepped out. High Counselor Rodriguez herself, making time in her busy schedule to visit her old friend. "Jack," she said with a warm smile as she walked up the path. "You're looking well." "Karen," he replied, standing to greet her. Or should I say, High Counselor now. They embraced like the old friends they were and sat together on the porch. Jack poured 2 glasses of real Earth whiskey, a rare luxury even in human space. "The Sol Accord signing is tomorrow," Karen said, taking the sip. "I wanted to make sure you'll be there. None of this would have happened without you." The Sol Accords, named after humanity's home star, would establish new principles for interspecies relations throughout the galaxy. The Reformed Council and the Human Cooperative would become equal partners, with other independent worlds free to join either organization or remain independent without fear of pressure. "I'll be there," Jack promised. "Though I'm not sure I deserve much credit. I just got fed up and walked out." A small alien shuttle appeared in the distance, heading toward Jack's home. It landed beside Karen's vessel, and a Threllian diplomat stepped out. Despite being from the same species as former High Counselor Zurax, this younger Threllian had been one of the first to embrace reform. "Ambassador Miller," the Threllian said, approaching with the formal bow of his people. "I hope I'm not intruding. I wanted to speak with you before tomorrow's ceremony." "Not at all," Jack said, gesturing to another chair. "And please, it's just Jack now. I'm retired." The Threllian sat carefully, his large frame making the human chair look small. "I studied the history of human council relations extensively," he said. "There's something I've always wondered." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "The Exodus," the Threllian said. "Was it always the plan? Did humans join the council intending to leave?" Jack looked out at the sunset, considering his answer. "Not exactly," he said finally. "We just wanted fair treatment. But we learned something important from our earliest days as a species. Sometimes you have to walk away from the table to get a better deal when you return." The 3 of them sat in comfortable silence, watching as the first stars appeared in the darkening sky. Tomorrow, representatives from hundreds of worlds would gather to sign the Sol Accords, beginning a new chapter in galactic history. On the original Earth, now mostly empty of humans, a different kind of construction project was underway. Ships from both the Council and the Cooperative worked side by side, building the first truly cooperative galactic university on the grounds where the old United Nations once stood. George Sullivan, now over 100 years old, and one of the few humans who had remained on Earth, watched from his wheelchair as aliens and the small human population worked together. A sign at the construction site read Earth University, where all species learn together. George smiled. Humanity had left Earth to find their place in the stars. Now the stars were coming to Earth, not as conquerors or controllers, but as partners and friends. It had been a long journey, but perhaps this had been the destination all along.